Hey there, good afternoon, my friends. It's a wonderful day to be in the Philippines. Hey, recently I made a trip down to Dumaguete, and while I was there, I met up with Paul from Old Dog New Tricks. We had a conversation. We ended up discussing a lot of things I'd never heard on his channel before. Anyway, check it out. This video is that conversation. Well, what do you think? Another action-packed, fun-filled day in the Philippines?
Another action-packed, fun-filled day in the Philippines.
You know, when you got here, what was the biggest surprise? Like before you came, you must have had some kind of idea of the way things were going to be, your life was going to be.
Right.
And then when you, once you were here, you woke up the next morning and started walking around. What were the biggest changes that you thought?
Well, I had convinced myself. See, I had spent time in Thailand on two separate occasions. First in 2005, that was the catalyst for me. In 2005, I knew that I was going to retire in Southeast Asia. And at that time, I figured Thailand, because I just loved it so much. And then I went there in 2009, and I lived there for a year, 2010. And then I came home, and I just, every day that went by was one day closer to retirement, one day closer to Southeast Asia. And then I started to research it. And the thing that put me off of Thailand was the visa. And I had to do border runs while I was there. And that gets old over time. And when I started researching top 10 places to retire, at that time, in 2015, 16, Dumaguete, of all places, came up as number one on Forbes list. And the Philippines. So I started looking into the Philippines. And I started watching vlogs and videos. And I think one of the mistakes that we do is on social media is we tend to paint too bright a picture of the place. We don't get a real true sense of it. We tend to show the pretty beaches and the pretty girls. I'm guilty of it. But there needs to be a dose of reality thrown in. In my mind, I had pictured the Philippines was going to be Thailand, but they speak English. Okay, that was what I had willed to happen. That's what I wanted to believe. And so I convinced myself that's the way it was going to be. And the minute I got off the plane and took a look around, I said, well, this ain't Thailand. This looks like friggin' Mexico.
Right.
You know, the infrastructure, the people, the food, the choices, the language, the noise, the dogs, all that kind of stuff just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was initially really disappointed. And so I said, but I had this resolve that I was going to spend 6 months here. And I had told myself, hell or high water, you're staying 6 months. Mm-hmm. And for the first 2 months I was busy, because I had to set up camp. And in the third and the fourth month I had gotten acclimated to a point where I was feeling comfortable. I was driving the scooter. I'd gotten used to how to make change. I'd transferred money. I'd gone through all the mechanics, of dealing with living.
1,000 pesos wasn't monopoly money anymore.
Right. I started thinking in terms of pesos instead of dollars. And then I had like the fifth, halfway, almost into the 6th month, I had my moments of doubt. It was like, I don't know if I can deal with this. The heat, the this, the dogs, the bop, the bop, the bop, the bop. But on 6, and I said 6 months, I'm not going to buy anything, I'm not going to commit, I'm not going to do nothing until after 6 months. And by the end of the 6th month, on the next day, I went out and bought a scooter. That was my foundation. That was my commitment.
That's where you dropped anchor?
That's where I dropped anchor, baby. And I said, yes, this is for me. Because I weighed the pros and the cons. And I kept reminding myself, and I still do, I'm 3 hours away from Thailand if I want to get out of here.
At the airport, you're 20 minutes away?
Dude, I've been to Indonesia from here. I've been to Thailand from here. What the hell else I go? Well, I went to Vietnam. So I've seen all those places, and I've been there, and I've spent time there. And while I enjoyed it, and I got what I got out of it, at the end of the month or whatever it was that I was there, I wanted to come back here. I just felt at home here. I felt comfortable here. And there is a lot of negatives. There is, spotty internet. There is
You have it worse here than I have it there.
Yeah, I know.
It's down here.
Yeah, no, it's not good. There's brownouts, there's poverty, there's crappy infrastructure, but I don't know. It just seems to have, and so that's the point I would want to make. If you're looking for a first world experience in a third world country or developing country rather, you're not going to find it. It's just not here. But I've learned that
AGC?
I can create my own Western world here, and I'm doing that now with the house build.
Yeah.
I found a secluded place where I can build to my standards, but I feel I'm comfortable with, a legacy for my wife when I'm gone, because she's 30-year age difference. I want to make sure she's set up, and I'm going to create it. And I found that one of the things that amazes me about people in general, and something that I think is developed in me as a human, is my will.
You will.
If I will it, it will happen.
Determination.
Yes, just being disciplined, being focused, and staying realistic about it. In other words, I'm not going to be an astronaut tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, just because I want to go to the moon. That's not feasible. But anything within reason, I can do if I set my mind to it, and anybody can do it.
I was here in 2014, and I met a girl. I came back at the end, and then I came back at the beginning of 2016, so like 14 months later. And I was here for a month, so we hung out for a month. And then it was a long distance relationship, etc. Until COVID happened. COVID happened right within a month, 6 weeks of when I turned 65. The shutdown happened. But when I left in 2016, I told her, I said, there's absolutely no way that I can live in the Philippines. You know, there's just no way. It's just
why? What was the problem?
It's filthy, it's dirty, it's all of this stuff, you know.
Yeah, all the things I mentioned plus.
And more, because it was in Pasay and Quezon City, and I mean, it was the worst of the worst. 3 o'clock in the morning, there's some lady with 2 little babies out there holding her hand. And, you know, and then I'm afraid to eat uncooked food, so the only thing there was Dunkin' Donuts. So I'm eating Dunkin' Donuts at midnight because it wasn't a pretty picture. But
that sounds like a little slice of heaven to me.
So then, finally, I go through the process, and it's closed down. And you know, the interesting thing is, I'd given up on the Philippines opening up. Okay. I was 67, my birthday. I decided, you know what? And I'm watching these videos of Kathmandu. I said, look, Kathmandu, you can get the first 2 pages of hotels on hotel.com in Kathmandu were under $5. And you can get a pretty nice little place for 10. Same places are probably 30 or 40 today, but back then, when during COVID, nobody was traveling. And so I was going to buy my tickets. I'm looking. Okay, I'm going to pull the trigger and buy the tickets. And the next day, the Philippines opened up. And boom, I bought tickets to the Philippines before they had a chance to change their mind, close back up. And so I left.
Because you'd already made your mind up to Dumaguete.
Well, I always had planned to come here, but I gave up because it was closed. And so when they opened up, I said, hey, I'm coming here. Because I had my long-distance relationship, so I landed in Porac.
All right.
And I had never planned to be in the province. It never occurred to me about being a minimalist. It never occurred to me that I would be happy there. There's just nothing about it that ever entered my mind.
Yeah.
And then as I got adapting into the culture, and people were no longer looking, childlike, and I realized that they just weren't jaded.
Right.
And as I adapted into this life, I mean, it's hard to be angry when you're around happy people.
Exactly.
It's hard to be selfish when everybody's getting around you. It just, no matter what I wanted, I just became a better person.
Right.
And not that I wasn't kind or good to begin with, but even more so. And as a result, I get on my little budget. I'm fixing up this house. I built this little house. I'm on a budget and building it out of my cash flow. I mean, everything's just great. So, now you're building a house. I remember when you were saying, "Oh, I'd never buy here," but the reason behind it is good.
No, it's my attitude when I first got here. I had brought was totally accurate. I had no interest in getting into a long-term relationship with a woman. I had no interest in ever having anything that would be anchoring me down in the house, possessions. And I still consider myself a minimalist because you have to have transportation. At least I do. you have to have a roof over your head. And so now that I've got this other person in my life, which I swore I would never do, but to me, it's not changing my mind, it's just developing and accepting and then adapting to my environment and finding out that, hey, I was wrong when I first got here. I had brought all this garbage in my head with me, and what I thought was impossible is possible. And I found what I was always looking for before in America and never found. I found here.
Yeah.
And so, never say never, right?
Yep.
And so, if I build this little house for my wife, and she's set for life, and we can live in it and enjoy it, well, that's something I said I would never do. And I'm here, I am doing it.
But that's just because the world changed, not because you changed. I mean, this is a different world here, and you were making your rules based upon where we came from.
Mm-hmm.
And now that we're living in a different place, it's a whole different thing.
Well, I think I was right then, and I think I'm right now.
Exactly.
I really was. That was my space. And you know what happens is in life, as we grow older, and not necessarily seniors, but this could be a 20-year-old, but you're going to change. And you're going to adapt, and you're going to either accept or not accept your situation. And I didn't make any conscientious decision to change. It just sort of by osmosis is my thinking got rewired, and it's just a whole different outlook. And I feel like I've more or less discovered who I am as opposed to changed who I am. That was at my core to begin with. That was what I always wanted. When I was in my 20s and my 30s, I always wanted to have a happy wife. I always wanted to have the happy life. I wanted a white picket fence, the nice yard, the American dream.
Right.
And you know what? I couldn't find it in America, but I found it over here.
Yeah. I did a video.
So there's the prize.
Yeah,
there's the golden ring on the merry-go-round.
I did a video, and part of the video was discussing. The American dream was no longer available to me in America, and I found it in the Philippines.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And I've also learned that if I was still in America, I wouldn't exactly be the person that I am today.
No way.
But I'm a happier person today. And because culture is different here, it never occurred to me that I would be happy in the lifestyle that I'm living. Well, kind of, because I wanted to travel and do all this kind of thing.
Sure.
But it's just, not that I would be a minimalist.
No. No.
I was still trying to figure out a way to get a container, and I had I had some really crazy furniture that is ridiculous expensive,
right.
Salvador Dali's and all kinds of other artwork, and on and on and on stuff. China, blah, 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 antiques, blah, blah. And you know what? The coolest part now is that stuff was all good. I had it, so I never have to look back and say, oh, gee, I wish I'd had that.
Right.
But I don't have to pay every month out of my pocket. I don't have to pay for the security of that stuff. When you have something that's extremely valuable, you can't just let it get weather damaged or somebody have it in a place where it's going to get burned down or somebody's going to steal it. It's a responsibility that you have. I no longer have that responsibility. So being a minimalist has allowed me to be relieved of that stress.
Sure. It's stuff owns you. You don't own stuff. And you got to maintain it, insure it, you got to clean it, you got to do this, you got to do that. I mentioned building a house. And I told my wife, I said, 3/4 of the house is going to be empty. Because we're going to have 3 bedrooms, but we're only going to furnish 1. It's just you and me. The other 2, well, they're just there for resale, or whatever. And we're going to have a living room, and we're going to finally have a dining room. We've never had a dining room. Our house is so little, so we'll actually have a civilized place to sit down and talk and eat together. Because right now she sits over there and I sit over here, and it's a whole thing. Our house is so little.
I think for you it's going to be cool. For her it's going to be amazing.
Oh yeah, and the privacy factor and all that kind of stuff. There's just, I can't find a downside to it.
I think if I were you, I would feel good just about the fact that you're giving this, you're creating this experience for her to experience.
Well, look at it this way: if what kind of person would I be, or anybody else be, if you meet the person like I have, which is the proverbial province girl, literally.
Yeah.
I mean, just truly, never dated a foreigner before, except for an LDR for 10 days or something, whatever it was. And you take this person and you drag them out of this abject poverty that they're in, or just poverty, period, and you elevate them to here. And you bring them along for so long, and then you die. I always try to worst case scenario.
I got you. I'm with you.
So, okay, now I'm dead. What are her options?
I got you.
Go right back.
Yeah.
Or, try to replace me.
You could
So I said, you know what? Here's my obligations. My life is my project. I got 30 years on her. I said this 100 times probably on my own channel, but I'll say it again since we're on yours. Is that when I die, I want to know that she's got a driver's license. She does. She has a passport. She's been out of the country. She's got a motorcycle. She knows how to drive. If I leave her a house, it's going to be self-contained with solar and all that kind of stuff. So the overhead on it will be next to nothing. It'll be as cheap as, if not cheaper than the boarding house she came from on a monthly basis. And so when I'm gone, the person that I pulled up to some degree, not a lot, just up to my level, is going to remain there. And then what she does with her life after that is totally up to her.
There's a thought that occurs to me, and that is that, there's in the age gap relationships, sometimes people have a disrespect for that. But I'm going to say this, that if you've ever had a child and you watch them blossom and grow as a human and all those kinds of things, I mean, when you meet someone here who has had none of those experiences and you watch them experience and grow, I mean, that is a kind of thing you don't necessarily get with someone that's your same age and has been there and done all that.
Yeah.
And there's a whole bunch of that is just extremely heartwarming, endearing, charming, and all of those things.
Well, I had the greatest time. I mentioned Thailand. I mentioned how much I enjoyed Thailand when I first went there in 5 and when I lived there from 9 to 10. But the best time I ever had in Thailand, even though the trip with itself was kind of a disaster with sickness and typhoon and all this other crap that happened, but I got to experience it with my wife. And she got to see, for the first time in her life, a working infrastructure. She got to see efficiency. She got to see go-go bars that they have over there and all the girls and whatnot. She sensed freedom, that when she went out and she was wearing a bikini, there was nobody staring at her or taking pictures, and she could be herself. And she says, I just feel so free over there. And watching her with this wide-eyed fascination and how she was able to gel so quickly with Thai girls, and neither one of them spoke English.
In some of those experiences, for me, that I've had, because the age gap is pretty much identical, was kind of like watching a kid at Christmas time.
Absolutely.
I mean, you see going to Disney, the Wonderland, the whatever. It's like, I mean, the fact that you're just watching them have these experiences. I mean,
I could brutalize you with examples, but our first Christmas together, she'd never had a Christmas tree before. And it was just so cool to watch her decorate a tree and videotaped it. She couldn't take enough pictures of it.
It's so cool.
The first time that she drove in a car was with me. It just, all these firsts. And to experience it through her eyes, things that I take for granted, gives me a new appreciation for it.
I mean, you're with a full-grown woman, adult.
She's 38 years old.
Yeah, but at the same time, there's all these first-time experiences that you get to enjoy.
Childlike qualities that she still possesses and will always possess. She's not been jaded by the world. She's not been exposed to the culture, the American culture, and all the chaos.
I think
that goes on
at first glance it appears to be childlike, but it's just not being jaded. There's a difference.
Oh no! I'm not calling her a kid.
That wasn't a negative thing at all.
No, it's just an innocence.
But somebody listening to us might not totally get that, which is always the point of my videos.
That's true. No, but if I was to go someplace for the first, when I came here, I was like a kid. I mean, I was wide-eyed at everything that I saw, and still to this day, I still have wonderment when I see things. There's just visions and opportunities and adventures and just highlights of people behaving, how they cooperate, that never ceases to amaze me.
You know, if you're a people watcher, and
Which I am.
This is just like, you know, it's like a dream. And the people here, many of them are just so charming and so cute, and we're not used to that, and that's why it's so charming and so cute. You know?
Yeah, you're not. One thing that's nice is there's no animosity due to your age, or you know, you're not in the way. In America, you feel invisible, and you feel like you're just taking up somebody's parking space, or you're walking too slow and irritating them because you're an old man. And over here, they'll actually help you. If you're having a tough time getting up the stairs or over a curb, or you've got a walker, or whatever the case might be.
If you're 60, 70, 50, whatever, younger people respect you here. There's not that automatic, oh, they're just of no interest. We have nothing in common. That thought doesn't occur to them.
Well, I'd be at the gas station in Vegas, filling up my car at night, and 3 or 4 teenagers with baggy pants would be walking towards me, and I'd get scared. I didn't know what was going to happen. And here, I'm out putting gas in the car, or actually the attendant is, but I've gone by groups of teenagers 1,000 times, and never once have I felt intimidated or threatened, or, you know.
Well, you know, you get the trolls that go, oh, the crime, they're going to kidnap him and all this other stuff. And I said this in another video, I'll say it here. I read a study because I was looking it up, because people kept asking me about it, and I needed a reference point that I could rely on. The study was done by a university between January and October of 2023. With 100 million people, the Philippines had 85,776 crimes. Same time period, same study, same line item. America had 11,880,000 crimes, and that's with 3 times the population. Now, if the crime rate was equal to the Philippines, 3 times the population, it would have been like, what, 280,000 instead of 11 million, almost 12 million?
Yeah.
And you know, if you're going to listen to the trolls that are telling you all of this stuff about the Philippines, it's not true. It is not true. Maybe in the roughest parts of Manila, but I mean,
Well, there are certain parts of the Philippines that you don't want to go to, and it's a very small, select area. It's well documented. Anybody that knows, don't go there. There's just some bad actors down there.
If you go to America, don't go to the south side of Chicago.
Correct. Every city in America has got its quote-unquote bad part of town, you know, and that's where the drug addicts and all that kind of stuff takes place. Here, there's one little area that I know about that is Shabu Town. You know, Shabu is meth.
Oh, really?
That's a drug that they use out here.
Oh.
And you just don't go there. When I was dating, I picked a girl up, and we went out to dinner, and I was taking her home. And I'd gone in and picked her up during the day in front of her little place that she stayed. And when we drove out, we went to the boulevard, we had dinner. And at night, we were coming back, and she said, drop me off here at the entrance. And I said, well, I can take you home. It's just up there. She goes, Paul, you'll drive me home, but you may not drive out. It was just that part of town that she lived in. And so it exists here, but forewarned is forewarned, and it's very, very small.
It's very small.
I've been here
rare.
7 years. I have never once had any kind of feeling of fear or panic or anxiety about anyone, local or non, that I've met in the whole 7 years I've been here. And like I said, in America, if I saw a group of kids coming at me, I would get a little nervous and my knees would start knocking.
San Diego's a good little town. I mean, it really is for size. It's pretty amazing what a nice town that is. And there's areas I would not go into in the daytime.
No.
So
No, I'm cool.
So there's so much misinformation about the Philippines.
And I think there's too much over-glorification, just to be clear.
You talking about me?
We can never get enough of you.
No, I
think that, you have to tell people that as far as what they're going to see and what they're going to observe is not pristine beaches everywhere. There's not a beautiful girl on every corner. The women don't throw themselves at you. None of that is true. It's just that the population age here is average 25 years old. So it has a youthful exuberance to it. And that is, through osmosis, just kind of catching. At least it is for me.
You know, you go around and you come around a corner and here's like 6 or 7 kids, all of a similar age, playing in the middle of the street. It's not a problem.
Right.
The thing is that in America, you wouldn't get out of the yard.
No.
And here it's all over the Philippines, where there's children playing, riding their bikes. You know, and we can't do that in America. Here, it's just not, people's minds just don't work in a bad way.
You asked me what my first impression was, and I told you it was negative.
Right.
But the positive side of that also, after 2 or 3 days of being here, was what was so, it's still in my head, is that it reminds me of my childhood in the 50s and the 60s.
Oh, yeah.
Where my mom, I would come home from school, grade school, I'd walk home, I'd come in, I'd eat a grilled cheese sandwich or a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, I'd wolf that down, and she would say, do you have any homework? And of course I lied and said no. She'd go, well, then get out of here.
Yeah.
So off I'd go, out the front door, and I'd go round with my friends, and we would build a tree fort, or we would play army, or we would play stickball, or start a football game, or dig a hole, or whatever we did as kids. And then when the street lights came on, I had to go home. And that's how it is here. The kids just wander around with each other. If they're 7, 8 years old, they're left to their own devices because they're not doing anything wrong. They're just playing. They're just having a good time.
Not worried that somebody else is going to do something wrong.
And you don't have to worry about, some weirdo coming up and snatching them. I've never even heard of that happening out here.
Yeah.
So.
And that's the cool
There you
part
go.
about being here.
That's the cool part. And you can always leave. My friend Bud Brown used to say, Paul, when you get off the plane, your feet do not land in wet cement and dry. You can always have the option. I always have the option to pick up and leave. And I've done it so far 4 times since I've been here. And every time I've left, I just want to get back. And that just says something in itself.
And when I have a lot of people that talk to me on my channel, and they're just nervous about coming here from all of the BS that they hear about the Philippines, and 90% of that's from people who have never been here, and some of that is just from idiots who were here and left because nobody liked it. But I suggest that people come, and maybe you're going to stay 2 or 3 weeks, and then just extend your visa, extend your visa. I've been doing it for about 2.5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on a tourist visa. And,
I was on a tourist visa for going on 5, 6 years.
Yep.
Until I got married.
Right.
And now we're moving it over to a 13A, which gives me residency. But that's not even completed yet. And I've still got to go to Cebu next month to finalize that. But yeah, that was the thing I said about Thailand, was what a hassle it was with the visa situation. And here, you would stay 3 years. You got to leave the country for 24 hours so you can fly to wherever, Taiwan, spend the night, Singapore, whatever, come back, whatever the cheapest round trip is.
Yeah.
And I've known guys to go and literally just spend 12 hours in the airport and get on another flight and come back the next day, which satisfied that requirement and started the 3 years all over again. Used to be that you could extend your visa up for 6 months. They've done away with that.
Yeah.
Now it's every 2 months. The good news is you can apply for it online. Bad news is that only works about 50% of the time. So there's a computer glitch. They still haven't quite smoothed that out. So you need to know where your local immigration office is.
Yeah, I did a video on that. And matter of fact, if you happen to be in Angelo City, you can literally look at the video from the entrance to the mall, and you can follow and walk exactly there. I've got the page that you have to fill out, everything. The window you walk
Right there,
up to.
see, you got step-by-step instructions on how to do everything from the minute you get off the plane.
And the reason I did that video, it had to do with how to get money, how to use an ATM. They're all the same. Whether you're in London, or whether you're in San Diego, or you're in the Philippines. ATM's an ATM. and there's just a fee for it. And then there's Remitly. And I showed you in my little town of Porrock, 8 places you could pick up money within 150 yards.
Right.
8 places. And then where to go get your phone set up at the mall. Walk into a cyber zone. Tell them that you know nothing, that you watch YouTube, you watch Facebook, and you want talk and text, and you need to make some calls. They'll hook you up. And $10 is going to get you probably unlimited for a month, including your SIM card. But anyway, that's not the point. I don't want to go with that again. But then how to renew your visa. And the point of that video was just take that little bit of stress off. How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? What's going to happen when this comes? It's there. It's in the video. And that's the point of my videos a lot of times, is just to give people enough information where they don't need to fear that portion of being here, that experience about being here.
Yeah, I would say the toughest time for me was the first 2 months, because I was doing all of that. I was trying to find an apartment. I was getting set up with the phone. I transferred money for the first time. All these firsts, transferred money. Now where do I go to pick it up? And so I had to go figure that out. And so there was a little stress involved there. But then you're on autopilot. At least I was.
Well,
I didn't pick up. There's a lot of guys sharper than me. You don't have to look too far to find somebody smarter than Paul McGill. These guys are dialed in a week, But for me, it took a while, and I finally got acclimated, and now I don't even think about it.
Even a front runner like myself, it took a while. I had all these plans of everything I was going to do when I got here. And then it took me a while to realize that really wasn't the best decision. How could I figure out what I was going to do when I got here? From there, I think the best thing to do is to know, hey, I don't know what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And accept that. And then when you get here, just let it flow. Mm-hmm. And don't be under so much pressure to get a 2-year lease on a property and make all these, get yourself locked in. If you're going to go to America, it's a huge place.
Yeah.
Why would you go to the first town I want to be in Oakland? You're going to go to the first town and sign an expensive 2-year lease. Take your time.
Yeah. My plan was to travel when I got here. And I got to Duma and settled in, and I actually started a rhythm to my life. And the longer I was here, the less I felt the need to travel. And yet I still went ahead and did it. I visited this place in Manila, Cebu, Angeles, a few different islands, a few different places. And at the end of the day, I said, you know what, there's nothing more special here than there is what I've already got at home. So I may as well just stay where I'm at and call it a day.
Well,
because I'm at that age where I just want to be comfortable. I don't want to, I'm not no spring chicken. And so me going on a 5-hour motorcycle ride, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, you're younger than me. But I was on my way back from here, last time I was here, to go pack up my stuff, and I was going to move to Baguio. And then I saw this house, and I got a deal for 2,000 pesos, can you believe it? I'm just going to travel, do my videos, and I'll come back here, and I'll edit, and I'll put them out, and that's just my thing, my home base. Mm-hmm. And for $36 a month, you can afford to pay a year in advance. It's $432, and you don't really have to think about it. You can come and go, wake up in the morning, you feel like going somewhere, go. And if your budget's right, you're not limited to what you can do. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people got confused when I said I had a $600 budget. My budget was $600 to live comfortably. But then there's remodeling my house. There's other trips I decided to take, coming to Dumaguete, and those kinds of things. So it's not a sad life. Don't feel bad for me. I'm doing well. But I could live on $600 a month, and I do when I'm not putting money in my house or traveling or doing other things.
Right.
So for you may hate traveling, but you like whatever you like. You want to restore old cars. Well, you can do that, and you can say, hey, my budget's going to be about this, and I know I can do all these other things.
Or they don't want to do what you're doing, which is remodeling stuff. They don't have a knack for it, a want for it, a desire for it. They just want to come in and want to have a nice place, and their budget's going to be $2,000 to $3,000 a month.
And it's going to be.
And that's fine.
They doesn't want to be in BGC and do all that, which is cool. I set up my budget so you could watch where you buy food, Public Market, Pure Gold, Hypermarket, and S&R, and you can make up your own budget, right. And you're going to be right for you. You want to spend $20,000 a month or $25,000 in rent. Okay, well, you spend this much on food, this much on rent, you're pretty probably pretty close.
Sure.
But there's no wrong way to do that. It's just whatever. At least you have the information to sort of make an educated guess. That was the purpose of that.